Now, your forecast first, sponsored by Matax Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing.
So tonight, we've got the clouds that are moving back into the area after some sunshine today that actually helped to boost the temperatures back up into the 40s again. But the cloud cover is here, and it's here to stay over the next several days. But we're still mild. Take a look. Temperature is 45 in Effingham, 43 in Springfield, and 39 in Champaign. Now, we're not really concerned about any precipitation right now, tonight, or into early tomorrow. But by tomorrow night, we're talking rain. And then maybe snow as we head into the day on Friday, but all is calm out there for now. We're going to break down more about the amounts and the timing of when that rain may switch over to snow when we come back here in just a little bit, so stick around with us. WCIA 3 News starts right now.
Now on WCIA 3 News.
It's the end of an era as Speaker Michael Madigan is out. A look at the many expectations facing his successor. Plus, criminal justice reform passed the House and Senate, the changes that helped make it all a reality.
Also tonight, 2 police officers were honored this week, but the most important thing for one of them is being up and around.
You're watching your local news leader. This is WCIA 3 News at 6.
This is a new day.
It's a new day.
House of Representatives.
Speaker Michael Madigan is out in Springfield. Democrats elected a new speaker, Chris Welch, to take his place. Good evening. I'm Paul Cicchini.
And I'm Jennifer Roscoe. The longest-serving State House Speaker in U.S. history stepped aside under pressure from his own party and under investigation in a federal corruption case. We have team coverage on session tonight. Capitol Bureau Chief Mark Maxwell live at the State House. And WCIA 3's Cole Henke is in our Capitol newsroom. First to Mark, the new speaker starts today, and he has some big shoes to fill.
Jennifer, indeed he does. Speaker Madigan leaving today, perhaps the most powerful State House Speaker in the nation, certainly the most staying power. He started his term in Springfield 50 years ago today, and 36 of the last 38 years as Speaker of the House. It's for that reason, along with several others, that Republicans were happy to see him go. Several Democrats, though, still trying to fathom just what a House might look like without the velvet hammer at the helm, trying to comprehend this new reality, the new political reality in Illinois. That includes new incoming Speaker himself, Chris Welch, who noted just how long Madigan has been here when he met the media after swearing the oath of office.
When Speaker Madigan was sworn into the General Assembly in January of 1971, I wasn't even born yet.
I don't have anything positive to say. I think the institution is better off with him leaving, and his record speaks for itself. We have budgets that are grossly unbalanced, pension systems that are wildly out of control. We have corruption at the worst level that is occurring with him.
I think Speaker Madigan should be applauded for what he did to this state, for what he has done for this state.
While Welch applauds Madigan's record and defended him during that special investigative committee, he still says he will distinguish himself with real differences. That new day rhetoric, not just words. He said he wants to limit the legislative leaders, including the Speaker's office, to a term of 10 years. No longer. And he also said he may very well step away from his law firm to avoid those conflicts of interest, or at least the appearance of it. Also addressing a domestic arrest that he had back in 2002 with the Women's Caucus. Eventually, the women were satisfied with his answer, in large part because of all the work he's done in Springfield to pass issues important to women in the Democratic Party. Speaker Welch taking the reins in his office now, where Speaker Madigan was just last night. Reporting in Springfield, Mark Maxwell.
Mark, thank you so much. Now, Madigan's grip on the gavel started to loosen after the ComEd scandal last year. The company confessed to a bribery scheme and said its former executives disguised secret payments to Madigan's inner circle to curry favor with him. While 4 of Madigan's allies were indicted, the former speaker has been charged with a crime and has denied any wrongdoing.
Diminutive in stature, domineering with the gavel, Michael Madigan has ended his run, as we've mentioned, as the longest-serving speaker in any state's House of Representatives. The now 78-year-old Democrat was sworn into office on January 13th, 1971. Now, exactly 50 years later, a different Democrat has the gavel in hand.
To be the first black Speaker of the Illinois House of Representatives.
But a dozen years after taking his seat in the State House, Madigan took control of the chamber, only giving up the gavel from 95 to 97 when Republicans had control of the House thanks to a red wave that swept the country.
Our first order of business will be legislation which is already being drafted, which is designed to provide for economic recovery and future development of the state of Illinois.
A practicing Roman Catholic, Madigan adapted to the politics of his caucus. In 2013, sending to the desk of then-Governor Pat Quinn a bill that would legalize same-sex marriage the following year. While he battled with Blago over the budget, it was his nearly 800-day impasse with then-Governor Bruce Rauner that cratered the state's credit rating and left budgets across state government bloodied. And while you wouldn't call him a progressive, he was at one time opposed to abortion, then shepherded both HB 40 and the Reproductive Health Act through the House, which expanded abortion rights, and ultimately got Madigan excommunicated from the Catholic Church in Springfield, along with then Senate President John Cullerton. Madigan will ultimately be known as an unrivaled political tactician, dubbed the Velvet Hammer, as Mark mentioned, by Chicago Magazine. He would regularly overpower and or outlast governor after governor, from Thompson to Edgar, Ryan to Blagojevich, and Quinn to Rauner. Now, in other news, the start of the new General Assembly means the start of new careers as lawmakers in Springfield. And those newly elected officials are walking into a new world of state politics. The partisan splits in both chambers remain largely unchanged. Democrats still hold the large majority in both the House and the Senate. Senate Democrats swore in 3 new members in their ranks. Republican Senator STOLLER was appointed a week early. He got to see this Illinois Capitol at one of its busiest and craziest times.
Major legislation going through at the last minute, overnight, in the middle of the night, during a lame duck session. It really has been a master's degree in public administration and politics.
It'll be time to be looking at redistricting. I think that is very critical as a Latina, that we make sure that we have Latino representation across the state of Illinois.
The new General Assembly started officially today, meaning anything that didn't pass during that lame duck session goes right back to square one. And we'll have more from the Capitol later in our newscast, including the latest on a criminal justice reform bill from WCIA 3's Cole Hankey and the changes that were made to it.
Switching now to the latest on the coronavirus. While the state's positivity rate is going down, the number of ICU beds being used in our area is going up. The positivity rate is now at 8.3%. In Region 3, West Central Illinois, 78% of ICU beds are being used. In Region 6, East Central Illinois, it's 70%. More than 5,800 new cases were announced, along with 97 more deaths. How many people need to get the COVID vaccine for herd immunity? That's the question the city of Urbana addressed on social media today. They say herd immunity means enough people in a community are protected from getting a disease because they've already had it or they've been vaccinated. Herd immunity also protects those who can't be vaccinated. While experts don't know what percentage would be needed, they say vaccination is a safer way to build protection than getting sick with COVID.
Many were waiting on the latest from the IHSA on Playing High School Sports. We'll tell you what came out of that meeting.
Also tonight, they're a father and son duo and work the same job. Why being honored is only part of their emotional story.
Kevin, we saw the sun today, but we don't know when it's coming back.
It's going away. It's going away for a while. Go back to work.
Put in the pocket.
Yep, it's gone. We're going to replace it with snow soon as well. Let's recap, though, because the sun did get us to 45 today. That is 12 degrees above what is average. That was nice. But yes, we're talking rain, we're talking snow, and colder temperatures in the forecast coming up.
You're watching WCIA 3, your local